All right. Hi, everyone. I'm Liz Eggleston, and I run Course Report, which is a resource for students who are choosing the right coding bootcamp. If you haven't used Course Report yet, this is my one shameless plug. I do it in all of our videos, but we've got thousands, over 40,000 alumni reviews, Q&As with students and instructors, everything that you need to choose the right coding bootcamp for you. And if you have read the Course Report blog, then you know that we love to talk to alumni of bootcamps to find out how their careers have evolved since they graduated and what advice they would give to a friend who's about to go to a coding bootcamp. But my guests today are going to take that to the next level because I've got two couples joining me. So they aren't just going to be giving advice to a friend, they're giving advice to their significant other. I love it. So thank you so much for joining us, Lee and Tait. Lee graduated from DigitalCrafts a few years ago, and his husband Tait just graduated. And Danny and Kim, Danny took a class at DigitalCrafts in 2016, and now his wife Kim is enrolled at DigitalCrafts. So this should be a fun Q&A. I think we can dive right in. So Lee, Tait, Danny, and Kim, maybe y'all can just go around really quickly and give us a quick intro and let us know what you were up to before you went to DigitalCrafts.
Sure. Hi, my name is Lee. Before I started DigitalCrafts, I was working as a high school educator, mostly doing high school social studies, specifically economics and government, and then made a jump over to wanting to do something different in more of the project management field, and kind of worked out for me.
My name is Tait. Before this, I was working in the oil industry as an administrative admin.
Hi, I'm Kimberly. I'm Danny's wife. I am currently enrolled at DigitalCrafts and graduating next week. I came from a hospitality background. My most recent job was bartending at the Atlanta Hartsfield-Jackson Airport.
Cool.
I'm Danny, and I used to be a touring musician, and that's pretty much that. And working at bars and guitar shops is what I was up to before I became an engineer.
That's amazing. You'll have such a spectrum of backgrounds before you went to DigitalCrafts. That's so cool. So Lee and Danny, why did you ultimately recommend DigitalCrafts, and more generally, I guess, recommend programming as a career to your husband and wife?
Well, I recommended it because, in my opinion, coding is just the future, and I feel like it's going to become a skill that's taught in schools and is just something, in some language in one form or another, I believe, is going to become popularized as computers become bigger and bigger parts of our lives. So it's just that and all the exciting career opportunities. There's, so many careers, there's so many industries right now that are being revolutionized by new software and new algorithms. And yeah, I think it's a really amazing time to be a software engineer.
Yeah, I'm gonna piggyback on that. It just made sense. I mean, everything's moving towards a more digital footprint, and there's a lot of opportunity in the field. We both kind of got hit by economic downturns, and working in this field has a little bit more security and stability. And so a lot of opportunity for growth and change, and just a better sense of future-proofing what's going forward. So it's made better sense for us.
Tait and Kim, as y'all were doing your research and looking for a coding bootcamp, was it just automatically you knew you were going to go to DigitalCrafts because Lee and Danny had gone there, or did you do more research than that? Like, what stood out to you about DigitalCrafts?
I did some research in the beginning, but ultimately, since Lee had already gone through it, it was, to me, the safer option. I knew how it would turn out. I was there every step of the way when he was doing it, so I already had an idea. So to me, I would just do the same thing.
Kim, did you have a similar thought going into it? Did you research other boot camps, or did you have your heart kind of set on DigitalCrafts?
My heart, yeah, I definitely had a biased opinion on the go with Danny, but he's recommended several people, and they've all been successful coming out of the program. And I've known some people to go to other programs, but I believe the outcome has been very strongly towards digital crafts. And I really wanted an immersive program. I wanted to learn as much as possible, as quickly as possible. And I wanted that challenge. So I knew I wanted to go there.
How did y'all find the application process? Was it easy to get in, difficult? Did you kind of have your partners to help you guide you through that process?
Yeah, Lee definitely helped me with it. I mean, he just gave me guidance and had me figure it out, obviously, to make sure I could do it. But I mean, it was pretty straightforward, at least to me.
It was. Did you have to do like a coding challenge, or did you feel like you had to know how to code at all before you started the application?
They did a coding challenge, but everything was something that you could easily look up, very beginner. And since I feel like so much of coding is being able to use the resources as the internet, it was a very introductory, can you even look up stuff on the internet, really? And it was good.
Totally. And Tait and Kim, both of y'all have been, I'm assuming because y'all both just graduated or just about to graduate. So have you been taking digital crafts remotely for the last few months?
Yes.
Can you talk about the teaching style and just what it feels like to be doing a boot camp remotely?
I actually spent the first day in the classroom. They had a pretty wide open, safe area for us to come into. And I really enjoyed it. But the teacher is at home, it's still through Zoom. And with traffic, I think it just made more sense to stay home because, when you're done with class, you go straight into homework, or you're doing homework before class starts, and kind of allows you to have the extra time to stay immersed in the material. But I've been enjoying it that way. I think Zoom's been a really great platform. It allows everyone to have an opportunity to speak if they'd like to. The teachers are super passionate and very informative, and the pace is it's kept up pretty fast.
Yeah, I quite enjoyed it being on Zoom. I mean, when I started, it was the height of COVID, so there was no option for going in anywhere. But I actually felt like it was an advantage in a way because I want a remote position to begin with. So it's very much how I'm going to be working. So I felt it was very helpful in that. And then obviously no commute is always wonderful.
Yeah, for sure. No, that makes perfect sense. I feel like I've been talking to, like applicants recently who are like, should I just wait until everything goes back to normal, if that's even a thing? Or, do this bootcamp remotely. And it's like, it's such a actually great opportunity to learn to like collaborate and, kind of do the job remotely too. So that's a really good point. Lee and Danny, so you both went to Digital Crafts, a few years ago. So I'm just curious how your careers have kind of evolved over the last few years. Like, what are you up to now? And like, did Digital Crafts work for you? Are you engineers now or project manager?
Yeah, for me, big time. When I went there, I guess this cat, Rob, was the teacher at the time, and Jake, one of the co-founders, both of them kind of pushed me to begin as a senior engineer and get my first job as a senior engineer. And so that definitely set me up for an amazing career so far. I started at ADP, which was a big company and was, I'd never really worked any real job before. So this was quite the experience for me. I spent a year there, realized I didn't really love the giant companies. And so I wanted to figure out, go to the next extreme and go to a small startup and see how that world felt to me. And spent the last few years over at Greenlight, which is a very successful startup here in Atlanta, and had a ton of success there. They're blasting off, doing great. And I felt it was time for me to continue to move my career. And now I'm still in the fintech world, working for a company called Gravy Solutions, which is like retention recovery is essentially what we specialize in. And man, I feel very lucky I quite literally used to live in poverty. So from going from tens of thousands of dollars in debt and living in poverty in 2016 to with this house that we've purchased last year, and just the fact that I've been able to work and support both of us while Kimberly goes to school full time, it's been such a transformation. So I
In
can't
4 years.
highly enough. I'm sorry?
In 4 years, that's really not a lot of time.
Yeah.
It's kind of an amazing like career evolution. Love to hear that.
Yeah.
That's so cool. And Lee, what are you up to now?
So similar story for Danny, for me. Basically, DigitalCrafts is what helped me get my first role in the tech field. That was like a serious role. So I've been working as a Scrum Master for cPanel for the last almost 2 years. In fact, one of the managers that I work with there came to our demo day and had encouraged me to apply, and I actually applied that morning. So it was a little bit of a funny coincidence. And I landed the job probably 2-3 weeks after graduation. So I've enjoyed being with them. I just recently accepted a new role for education tech company. It's kind of in startup mode still. And I'm going to be moving into a technical project manager position. So a huge jump for me. And it all started from learning everything at DigitalCrafts, and been really cool. In 3 years, went from working in a teacher's, kind of scraping by and figuring things out, to we were able to buy a house. And when he got laid off due to COVID, we had a few moments where we were sweating, and then we realized, hey, I work in tech, it'll work itself out. So it's been a lot easier than it would have been had I tried to do this on a teacher salary. So
yeah, and so cool that you've both been able to like support your partner as they've gone through DigitalCrafts as well, because that's a huge, the tuition for boot camp is not trivial, right? It's a huge support system. And did y'all learn, Leah, you were a Scrum Master right after DigitalCrafts. Did y'all learn Scrum and like technical project management in the curriculum?
A little bit.
A little.
Some of it. Funny enough, there was another person in my class that was actually a Scrum Master, and she had done development before. So when I said I wanted to become a Scrum Master, she and I already started talking about what it looked like. And I got an opportunity to really practice some of the skill sets in class. And then one of the things that's been a benefit, I've been able to go back since graduation and talk about doing Agile and being a Scrum Master for different courses or different cohorts, including his class. Yeah. And so I try to help incorporate it into the curriculum a little bit more. And it's been a good shift. We've got probably 5 or 6 people who've reached out to me after the fact who want to become Scrum Masters or go into the project management side. So it's been good.
That's so cool. I feel like that's a career path that isn't like the typical post, coding bootcamp career path, but it's so solid. And also learning programming language like before you become a technical project manager must just be like make you such a strong, so strong in that field. So that's really cool. Well, I wanted to ask y'all, about a time that your partner or significant other was like able to support you or like mentor you as you've been at DigitalCrafts. And you already mentioned like being the financial support, which is honestly huge. But is there like a challenge or a roadblock that y'all remember, Tait and Kim, in the last few months as you've been going through the DigitalCrafts like process, a time when your partner's been able to help you out or like mentor you through that?
For me, I don't remember anything too big, but really having someone that, even if I was frustrated or thinking through it, I could talk to it aloud. And once it just having someone to talk to, it would click. most of the time without too much interference or help, So it was good.
I pretty much come to Danny whenever I've had a moment of desperation. And he's been able to help me with some things I forgot to look at. And it's been nice to have that person to kind of bounce off of a little bit here and there as we go through as I've gone through the process.
I always ask people, what's been the biggest kind of roadblock or challenge that you've faced as you're like making this career change. And I think the number one answer is definitely imposter syndrome. And I mean, that's I don't know if y'all have experienced that as you've, graduated recently, or if that's something that y'all have talked about at DigitalCrafts, but I imagine having someone there so close to you who's like, been through that process for the last 3 or 4 years and kind of grown into their role as an engineer in tech. Has that been like helpful to y'all, or have y'all experienced that at all? That might have been a leading question.
Still, am affected by imposter syndrome. Having him here has been helpful with that too, because he constantly reminds me, it's like, no, you built all these things. But oddly enough, I found an interesting way to help tackle imposter syndrome is like using, or just going back to like the recordings that we had from class and going over. It's like, oh, well, I remember having an issue with this, and now this is just it shows you, yes, you've learned. You don't need to be upset or think you're not good enough.
Well, very well said, Tait. I would say towards the beginning, I say the first half of the program, I was just terrified. I didn't realize how scared of going to class I was. It's been many years. And so I was just working through that nervousness and then finding my confidence, and it was great. But then that imposter syndrome kind of set in. But you said it well, Tait, just when you go back through, watch the videos and kind of give yourself a review, you know that you know the material. And so, but yeah, that was the biggest one, was getting through that initial hump of fear.
I still feel imposter syndrome at least once a week, and then my coworkers or my boss will tell me how much they love me and how great my work is. And I'm like, okay, I guess everything is groovy.
I guess it's probably nice to hear that, like, a senior engineer, someone who's been, in the industry for 3 or 4 years now, like still feels that feeling as well. I don't think assuming it never goes away. But okay, so Tait and Kim, what are both of your career goals after you graduate? Tait, I know you just graduated a couple of months ago. What kinds of roles do you feel like especially prepared for after DigitalCrafts?
For me, I'm actually want to look into something that is related to construction, or I've always been fascinated with construction, interior design, anything to do with homes essentially. And, the more I look, I see more and more jobs like that. Most of them want me to have knowledge of a few other languages, but I still need all the languages I learned through DigitalCrafts. So I have a little further to go, but I'm definitely well on my way to being able to do so.
And what was the main programming language that you learned during your program?
We learned, you start off with obviously the basics of, HTML, CSS, JavaScript, we learned Python, move on into Node and React, and it's a pretty substantial amount to get you where you need to go. So it was a lot of fun.
Did y'all find that the curriculum, like, Lee and Danny, did y'all peek at the curriculum, the newer curriculum, and like, has a lot changed at DigitalCrafts since you did it?
I'm in a little bit different boat. I went through the flex cohort, so the part-time.
Oh yeah.
While I was working, and the focus for that course is more on just really JavaScript, React, and then some of the back end work to learn. So I got to really dig in some of the work that Tait was learning in the immersive course. And JavaScript and React were fairly similar to what I went through. And I had actually just started teaching myself Python before his cohort started. So
Which helped. I could pick his brain.
so it was fun for me to see some of the shifts and growth because I don't do development every day, but I work with developers every day. So I use the skill sets in a different approach, and it's been helpful seeing how things have progressed since when I first started the program.
It's a nice refresher course. And Kim, are you what kinds of roles are you thinking about, or do you feel like you are prepared for as you go into graduation? Are you graduating in a week?
Less than a week. Yep.
It's exciting.
Today, our presentation of the capstone project is on Monday.
Cool.
Yeah, I'm very excited. I am really enjoying the full stack application, and I've had a lot of fun with React. And so I'd like to start out with a company where I can use those skills that I've learned there, but also be able to develop and learn. So to start out, I was thinking maybe a little bit of kind of a larger company to get my feet wet and still continue my education. But eventually I'd like to work for a company that I'm really passionate about. And I have a couple of ideas to start with. I think I'd be comfortable with a paid internship as well. I'm not as ambitious as Danny in the beginning, but I'm excited to see where it goes. Eventually, I'd like to get into project management as well.
Well, Lee can be your mentor into project management. Look at this great connection. Cool. Well, Lee, I would love to hear your advice for just getting the most out of the DigitalCrafts experience. I know you did the Flex program and you were working at the same time. Anything that you would tell a future boot camper advice to get the most out of that?
I get asked all the time. So my big three questions are: one, can you afford it? And if the answer to that question is yes, then okay, cool. Two, are you able to be patient with yourself and find time to make this important for you? And then three, remember that the best way to learn something is to fail at it and continue to grow. So, as former teacher, my students weren't successful when they just got it every time on the first shot. They were better prepared when they missed something and they went back and looked at it and was like, oh, okay, I see what I did here. And they improve and then they're stronger. So I would say that's typically my advice is, to follow those ideas of there's a difference between being a failure and failing at something. Failures quit and they give up. Failing at something means that you have an opportunity to learn and keep pushing through. I think for him, we had those conversations kind of early on that this is going to be stressful and frustrating at times, and that's okay, because when you finish, you're going to feel the reward of success because you kept pushing yourself. And so I give the same advice to friends, family, anybody else that's considered going down this road, even what they want to do afterwards too.
That is amazing advice. It's very clear that you came from an education background, so thoughtful. And Danny, do you have any advice for a new bootcamp grad who is thinking about how they're going to get their first job after a boot camp?
Yeah, I guess. I'm a pretty loud person, so I always say make sure your personality comes across in an interview. There's 20 odd boot camp grads you're going to be graduating with. You all are going to have the same projects or similar portfolios, and ultimately what it's going to come down to is the your ability to answer the questions to their satisfaction, which you may or may not have control over. And then, yeah, just your personality. And at the end of the day, people want to work, they want to enjoy the people they work with. So, just making sure you come across as someone that's easygoing and positive and uplifting. I think those are all positive things. When I interview people, I know those are the characteristics that I'm looking for, because, work is stressful enough, and that's fine and expected. But, you don't want the people you work with to add to that. You want them to be a relief from it. And I'm very fortunate with Green Light and Gravy that I've had that experience with both my teams. So it's very cool.
Have you interviewed or hired other DigitalCrafts graduates?
I have never hired a DigitalCraft grad. Actually, that's a lie. I forgot. So there was a DigitalCrafts grad in the customer service team at Greenlight. I hired him, we hired him, but I interviewed him. And so, yeah, I did once, but he was already in the company as a customer service rep and got this education, and we decided to utilize him.
So he started as in CS and then went to DigitalCrafts and then moved into like a more technical role.
Yeah.
At the company. That's so cool.
Yep. And there's another DigitalCrafts grad that's currently doing that now. She just graduated from a cohort, and she's moving over to engineering from customer service over at Greenlight as well.
Very cool.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's a really cool kind of outcome. Not necessarily like quitting your job and going to a boot camp and getting a totally new job, but like moving up at your current company. That's amazing. Okay, cool. Well, this is my last question for y'all. I know I want to let you get back to your days. I ask everyone because it's the number one question that we get. Was DigitalCrafts worth it for you, looking back on the last 3 months or 3 years?
100%. There's no doubt. It changed my life for sure.
Definitely. We would not be where we are now if Lee hadn't gone through the program, and looking forward to my future in it as well.
Well, Lee, Danny, Tait, and Kim, thank you all so much for joining. Lee and Danny, it's been so cool to see how your careers have evolved over the last few years and how you've been able to support your partners as they've done DigitalCrafts and made this career change. And Tait and Kim, good luck to both of you as you go through this job search process over the next few months. Can't wait to see where you both end up. And to those tuning in, thank you for watching, and we will see you on the next Course Report Q&A. Bye.